The time until spring break. I eventually came around to letting go of Karen and tried my luck in other friend circles. Looking back, it was a strange mentality to be in, quite literally, on the prowl for a soulmate, convinced that the energy I possessed at the time was destined to collide with that of another young individual. I had it in my head for some reason that if I didn't get into a relationship by junior year of university, I would miss the chance to have a formative 2-year college romance and thus would have a difficult time finding a solid relationship thereafter. I probably came across as desperate to some people, but something about my sheer sexual availability drew some attention. In early March, I decided to take a friend up on an offer to attend a 21st birthday party. This friend wasn't someone I hung out with often, but she was friendly enough to invite me to social gatherings. In this case, I met a whole group of friends my age that had formed freshman year at Hip Forest University while I was a freshman at Hip City College. There was a spooky feeling to it all, as if I certainly would have been friends with these people much more intimately had I initially chosen Hip Forest University over Hip City College in the first place. It'd be tiresome to describe the lot of them, but they were all frequent green power users and enjoyed jam bands. That was a basic friend group one could fall into at Hip Forest. Tie-dye draped festivalists, frequenters of the great unknown, devout followers of fish and twiddle, and death stick consumers all in one. I'd say this group was a lighter version of said stereotype, who had all taken care to wear clothing that wasn't torn and to bathe regularly. In this bunch was Alison, 6 feet tall, with greyish-brown hair just below shoulder length and a lifetime skier on the slopes. Her voice had a clever sweetness to it that was all too inviting. I kept it as real as I could, and the party turned into the two of us talking to each other more than anyone else in the room talked to one another. Our connection painfully obvious to anyone paying attention. She gave me a ride back to my dorm with her friend, and we agreed that we should hang again sometime. It was a complete mental turnaround for me, and I started to obsess over Alison and the idea of trying to orchestrate a date with her. The next day I ran into her by chance at a campus crosswalk. "Boy Steverino, those are some rad purple pants you got on there," she quickly made a point of mentioning as we stumbled into each other. I thanked her for the compliment and got her number under the premise that we should hang out soon. We met up a few nights later for a date to get some food and consume green power back at her place. To be honest, I don't really remember much of what we talked about on the first date, but the vibes were smooth and I ended up spending the night at her house. It was a dream come true, and I didn't know where it was going or where I wanted it to go, but I knew that I enjoyed my time with Alison and that our physical connection was incredible. For the month of March, we spent a ton of time together, including her 21st birthday and a jam band show. For her birthday, we went out to eat with a bunch of her friends, and though it was fun, she got a bit peeved when I couldn't pay for her food and drinks. She ended up having to pay for her own meal on her birthday, and I think it was because I didn't have enough money in my checking account. I explained that I was sorry and that I would totally pay her back for everything she had that night, but she still saw my performance inadequate in that regard. When we went to a jam band show some weeks later, her and I decided to microdose some mycospawn, which I thought might actually bring us closer together, navigating the great unknown together and whatnot. Instead, the opposite happened, and she became annoyed by my presence. I don't know why she was. I was smiling the whole time, hanging out and trying to have fun with her, but she was unamused. At one point, I came back from the bathroom and approached her and her friend from behind as I put my hand on her shoulder, which caused her to jump. I laughed and apologized, but she was of the mind that I had done a stupid thing. I think that was one of the last nights I had with her, the one where the sex was the worst, as if we both knew it was over the whole time we tried. She asked to meet up with me near the end of March and broke up with me. The reasons she cited were the fact that I still lived in the dorms, the fact that I didn't have my own car, and the fact that the only job I had was my work study at the bookstore. So you're breaking up with me because I don't have more money and don't have 2 jobs, basically. I sounded annoyed. They felt like boring, surface-level reasons. We just aren't at the same level, Steverino, she dismissed. She always said my name in this demeaning, repetitive way, as if talking to a pet. And that's okay, but I just want someone who's further along than you. All right. So I guess you just don't love me that much, really, because if you really did love me as much as I loved you, you wouldn't care about all of that shit. My guard was up, and I really thought that what I brought to the table mentally and emotionally superseded my lack of material wealth. Yeah, I guess you're right, Steverino. She looked away as she spoke. She was starting to come across as bored, inconvenienced even. I mean, didn't you think the sex was amazing? There's no way you were pretending for all of that. It was good sex, wasn't it? There I went, leveraging my physical abilities as well, like it would, again, make up for the lack of what she wanted. She smiled and sighed. Yeah, it was great sex, but everything just has to line up. I couldn't take the condescension any longer. Well, it's funny actually, because most of the time that we were together, I knew that it wasn't going to last. I thought that jam band we saw sucked ass. I'm not into any of the other music you like, and your interest in civil engineering is boring as fuck. I thought, why not? Just be real about all the ways that she didn't make the mark herself. She gave me a look of pity and said that I needed to follow her to collect my green power I left at her house. We walked silently to her car and drove to her place where she gave me my stuff. You'll be fine, Steverino, she said calmly. Yeah, whatever. I hung my head and closed myself off as I left with my green power paraphernalia. So that was my third and final month-long romance during my junior year of uni. I realised that I just needed to cool it for a while and let something happen naturally. Always better to be free than to be stuck in something toxic. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't mention my journey I had in the great unknown with Jax during spring break of that March while I was still with Alison. I had visited Jax at Rural Wood University. Apparently, Jax had been having a good old partying time over there and had also been killing it on the lacrosse team. Our plan was to hang and have a classic college partying time, as well as to connect to DSL the next day.